1 in 3 women has experienced domestic violence in her lifetime. Every 9 seconds in the United States of America, a woman is assaulted or beaten. Women often don't speak up about domestic violence.
At the very beginning of my relationship, my boyfriend treated me like a queen. He spoiled me with love and affection. It was wonderful. But I did get a few warning signs from other people that knew him. They would warn me that he was abusive, that he had a really bad temper, but because he loved me so much, I just never ever in a million years would have thought that he would have been abusive towards me. At this time, I was about 21 years old when I was with this guy, and again, he treated me like a queen. One day, something so minor triggered the abuse. He asked me for a ride, and I declined, and from that point on, that's when I experienced the abuse. I had him in my passenger side while I was driving on the highway in the 3rd lane, and because I said I wouldn't give him a ride to where he needed to go, he decided to just punch me on the side of my face. And I was in total shock when he initially hit me. My face just felt like it was just tingling. So I had a burger in my hand, and my first reaction was to take the burger and smash it on his face. And that was the worst thing that I could have possibly done, because he ended up punching me so hard that I thought that I broke my jaw. And I was swerving on the highway. Cars were just like so close to hitting me, but I managed to get off on the side of the highway, and once I did, I ran out of the car out of fear. But I wasn't thinking that I left the keys in the ignition and that he could just leave me stranded on the highway. But before he can do that, I was on my P's and Q's, and I just ran back to the car, and I told him to get out, which he wouldn't. And I ended up having to drop him off home. And once I did that, I told him to get out, and he took my keys out of the ignition. And that's when bad went to worse. Oh boy. So once he had my keys, I was stuck in a whole nother town. I needed to get home, but I couldn't. So I chased him, and I saw a police car that was parked. I knew that there was no police officer sitting in the actual car, but I just wanted to scare him. So what I did was I just knocked on the window, and once he realized that there was no officer in the vehicle, he became so enraged that he looked like a totally different person. So he ended up chasing me and beating me because I was trying to get help from a police officer. And at that point, he choked me to where I blacked out. I blacked out. He punched me in my stomach to where I felt the vibrations like go through my body. I've never in my life experienced anything like that, especially at that age. And from that moment, I realized that I was definitely one of those, excuse me, I'm sorry, because I'm like out there. Okay. At that moment, I realized that I was a victim of abuse. How I got out of this abusive relationship was after the initial incident with the abuse. He cried, he apologized on bended knee, and and I just totally forgave him. But within that same day that I forgave him, another trigger. He asked me to do something and I refused, and the abuse started again. So I just decided that I had to just escape, and I was lucky enough that a few weeks after this situation, of abuse and me finally cutting it off, he ended up going to prison, and he received 20 years for abusing another female. My second experience with an abusive boyfriend was my most recent, and I was about 25 years old when I met him. When we met, I prayed for this guy. My family prayed, and I really felt that this guy was God sent. I really did. He took care of me more than anyone has ever in my entire life. He provided for my family. He was just my every dream. He took me on vacation every couple of months. Just spoiled me rotten with love and materialistic things. But again, there were signs that I chose to just ignore, and I ended up learning the hard way. The first sign that my second boyfriend was an abusive person was his jealousy. He was extremely jealous. He would follow me home from work. He would sit outside my house. Sometimes I would pull up from wherever I was, and I'd park my car, and he'd hop in and just grab my phone and run. And this was just so he can go through my text messages and my phone calls and see like who I was talking to. That was a major sign, but I just took it as, oh, he just loves me and he just cares, you know. But I was wrong, because eventually that became a very major issue. And with my experience, I kind of like got a little fed up, and one day I actually tried to grab my phone back, and that was the beginning of the abuse. I ended up tussling with him trying to get my phone back, and he ended up punching me in my face. And when he did that, I could taste blood in my mouth, and I went crazy, and I picked up whatever I could, and I was chasing him with it just to scare him. But he ended up taking my phone for about a week or so, and he went through it, found some things he didn't like, and he came to my house and he punched a hole in the wall. I took him back because I felt like I triggered his anger, and I just forgave him for just loving me. That's what I thought it was. I just was like, this guy loves me, and I pushed him. So a few other incidents happened in front of his mother, to where I ended up pushing his mother, and that was the worst thing that I could have ever done, because his mother is much older, and I just lost my mind because of the abuse. And there are so many incidences of abuse with this guy that I can't even remember. But one time I posted a video on my YouTube page, and a few of the people that commented asked me, why do I have so many bruises on my body? And I didn't even realize that my bruises were that bad until I watched that video. But yet again, I stuck by this guy because I loved him. For the most part, I don't have too many visible scars with the abuse that I experienced. I do have some scars on my legs from where we fought, and the bruising, it all healed. But one of my bruises lasted about 4 months because it was so deep. But other than that, the bruise, the main bruise, is within me because I've lost trust in a lot of people because of my experiences. So that, to me, is the worst possible thing that I could ever experience, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. It was very difficult for me to leave because of the love that I experienced with this person, because of our history. We were together for 3 years. The abuse started the first year, but I just stuck around because I just wanted to be loved. And I felt like at times it was my fault that I upset him. And really, that was not the case. I just was in denial because I wanted to be in love and I wanted to be loved. Why I didn't leave was because I did not want to start all over. I am close to that age where most women are either already married and have children. My family loved him, and I just couldn't see myself having to go through the process of meeting someone and getting to know someone and their flaws. He accepted every flaw that I had, and I just couldn't imagine anybody else loving me the way he does. So that's the main reason why I chose not to leave. I just didn't want to start all over again. What finally led for me to leave my last boyfriend, the man that I loved more than anyone, was a particular incident that could have taken my life. I ended up driving up to his house because he lied to me and told me he was home, and I knew he wasn't. So I waited in his driveway for about 2.5 hours, and he finally pulled up, and I approached his vehicle, and he just started to curse me out and asked me why the hell I was at his house and what I wanted. And I'm like pretty shocked because he never, if I felt at that time that he had no reason to be upset with me because he's done it to me plenty of times for the last 3 years that we were together. It was my first time just popping up on him. So he pulls down the window, and I put my hand inside to unlock the door. And once I did that, he decided to roll the window up, and my fingers were stuck. I tried to pull my fingers out of the window, and that enraged him, and he just kept cursing at me, telling me to get the hell off of his car. And I was just like, I can't get my fingers out. He decided to just drive with me hanging from the car, and he was driving what felt to me like 30 miles an hour, and I just couldn't even see. We were driving down a hill. I can hear people say, "Stop the car." But as he was driving, he was jerking the car. In other words, he was trying to make me fall off. And my life literally flashed before my eyes because I imagined my feet hitting the ground and me rolling under the car and just being dead. And he jerked the car a few times, and finally we reached the intersection where cars were just flying, and he stops the car, and I was able to just pull my fingers out. I felt that my fingers were broken. I couldn't move them. I was shaking, and he just sped off. And that was the longest walk back to my car that I ever had to take, the longest walk. And that's when I realized that my life meant more to me than that love. It's my last relationship. It has been 3 years since I've been with anyone, and I feel that the reason being that I'm still single is because I do have trust issues because of what I've been through. I fear that the next relationship that I am in might turn into something more serious than abuse. I fear that someone can possibly cause me more pain, and it probably lead to me losing my life, and I just can't get past that. I don't know if I need to just talk to someone about this, but I know that I do have a lot of deep-rooted issues because of what I've been through. It is very difficult for me to talk about this because when I decided to tell my family, my friends what I was going through, it seemed like nobody really believed me, and it just hurt. So what I do to make myself feel much better is I make videos on YouTube just talking about relationships. I told my story on my channel, and I saw that a lot of people related to what I went through, and to me that's the best form of therapy for me, that I'm able to talk to people and they're able to explain to me what they're going through. So for anyone, male, female, if you're going through an abusive relationship, you need to get out. You have to get out. There's no love that is worth your life. And I could have lost mine because of stupid love. And I thank God that I am here today. And I just pray that I get over this and I'm able to move on and find somebody that will actually love me. And that's all I hope for. And I hope that you guys actually listen to me. If you're in an abusive relationship, leave. Get out.